Ian, who is watching Quibi
I
right
don't know.
now?
Not me.
Did you
Not watching
did you
Quibi.
did you get the trial for Quibi?
No, I didn't.
If you did back in early April, you better unsubscribe because now they're actually gonna start charging people because now it's 3 months into its lifespan.
Oh, really?
So
This is gonna be bad.
the earliest they could have started making money was like literally like yesterday or today. I think it was like April 6th. So they did.
Oh,
So they made.
no.
So they made $0 unless you signed up. I think for the commercial free. I guess you could have signed up early, but for the most part, they haven't made any money until starting to now. So the hits just keep on coming for Quibi, and every article that comes out is not good for how they're being operated and how they look. We talked about the New York Times article about a month ago, right? And how that was a bad interview with Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's running the company, along with Meg Whitman from HP, former of HP. So, this article is from Vulture. It's the New Yorker. Is anyone watching Quibi? The streaming platform raised $1.75 billion and secured a roster of A-list talent, but it can't get audiences to notice. So this article goes into more of the ins and outs about like how this came to be. What did it start out as? And then where are they right now? So obviously they got buy-ins from all the major Hollywood studios. They got buy-ins from Disney, Sony. And at the time, Ian, I always said, well, what's the what is the goal of all these companies getting in bed with them? And it turns out from this article, and it's something I kind of thought about, well, if they're the ones getting paid to make the content, that they almost get a freebie, a free roll. And that's basically what's happened. They got the buy-in of these big companies and all this investment because there was pretty much a guarantee that, well, if I give you whatever, $100 million, you're going to pay me eventually $100 million in order to produce content to go back onto the Quibi service.
Right.
So it's a low risk to these companies that invested for some of these, the entertainment companies. So you're basically getting a free, you're basically going to break even and get investment in this company. Then who cares if it folds a couple of years from now because we broke even? You're playing with house money at that point, right? So that's why all these companies. Because I always wonder, like, why the hell would Disney invest in this company? They have Disney Plus. They got their own like why would they care? Well, because it's a free investment at the end of the day.
Right. You're gonna get it back. Well,
in theory, you're going to get most back.
Yes,
it's worth the small risk to you there. So, but it talked about just the type of content on here and how a lot of it was laughable. Like they talked about how there was that series that where is it one about we heard about was the Anna Kendrick anchor comedy in which her character befriends her boyfriend's sex doll. Just bizarre sort of content that there's no way Netflix or Hulu would be like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Or Amazon would be like, yeah, that's a good idea. So it talks about how a lot of these, not all, but a lot of these ideas for shows was stuff that was already rejected from other being pitched elsewhere. So it's like the B or C grade entertainment that now comes to Quibi, for example. It's the stuff, even if you have a star vehicle, you have like Kevin Hart has a series coming out. This is stuff that potentially wouldn't make it to other platforms because it's not good enough. A lot of stuff. So you have this weird reputation going in that all of a sudden you're like, oh, now why would I pay for this content when I know it's not premium because it couldn't make it elsewhere on paid platforms.
Yeah, it all looks like B-list stuff.
The Golden Arm Sam Raimi horror thing, which became a meme because that was the only show people knew was on Quibi. And it was funny because since there's no screen capturing built into the app, people had to record it with another cell phone. So that became a meme. It's like, well, why
Are you
is it
serious?
Yes. So
wow.
The only promotion that went viral for Quibi was this weird Sam Raimi, like I guess it was like a sci-fi sort of story about a woman got in love with her prosthetic golden arm, but the gold slowly poisoned her, killed her, and she wouldn't give up her golden arm. So that was a meme because that sounds like a terrible idea for a story, but it also became like a meme because people realize the only way we can see anything of this show is if someone took a second cell phone and screen captured it with another cell phone. So you're showing the weakness of your product through like just out of the gate bad news. And then it talked about just how we surmise about, well, we have these two old people in their 60s running this venture that are out of touch with the current market here.
Yes.
And then they asked Meg Whitman like what you watch, and she doesn't like. She's not like on social media. She's not watching. She said like the show, the Grant History Channel show, the documentary is supposed to be good. Like that's her favorite show on TV right now, and she's the CEO of this social media entertainment company, and it's just like, wow, okay. Me and Ian, we're not rocket scientists, but we point out you have these old people out of touch running this company, and this is the results of it.
Yeah. The day it launched, the Quibi app rose to number 3 in Apple's App Store. By mid-June, it was number 284.
Now, I would love to have an app that's 284 in App Store, Ian, but I didn't, spend a 1.8 billion dollars, to get to that point,
right?
Or well over $1 billion. We'll just say they're still going to spend money on entertainment this year, there, and have it in development for 2 years. It talks about how Katzenberg and Meg Whitman are at each other's necks. They work on different floors of the company. It talks about how even the people. It talks about the micromanagement that. Like they hire these young people that might be smart, might have a vision for a good product, but since things are so micromanaged, you just become a doer. Just go do what we tell you to do. Just go do it. That's right. A great way to run a company in this day and age. So just go do what you do. We hired you for your smarts, but you're not going to allow you to be smart. We're just going to tell you to do what you do, and you do it. I mean, it's not shocking that this is the way this stuff turns out. People that were smart in other jobs, Katzenberg, obviously, Meg Whitman. She was at eBay before she went to Hewlett Packard. Like at some point, the magic that got you to your previous point doesn't always follow through with your current venture. Times change, entertainment changes, right?
Something that I thought was interesting is, because this is kind of how I figured it just when you see something like this, you almost wonder like how up their own ass are they? And
this article reveals a lot of it.
Yeah, writer Scott Gardner said, "I can honestly say I've never been in such a cocky pitch environment. I would describe the atmosphere as Wolf of Wall Street, not in terms of actual debauchery, but it's an incredibly nice office that just goes and goes. They had 2 lobbies. You went in and checked out at a nice big lobby. Then you were moved to another lobby. There's massive jars of expensive, nice-seeming," I like that, nice-seeming candy everywhere.
Oh, I thought you said nice semen at first. Okay.
No, nice-seeming candy everywhere. It's sleek and modern. You see hundreds of people passing by, and there's this energy of people who really believe they've got the next big thing. But why?
You don't.
That's my question.
You don't. It's done.
Yes.
It's done.
Finished.
Because now the numbers are going to start coming out, and within a month, they're going to have even more articles about, wow, how many people actually stayed out and paid for the service?
Yeah, it's just a slow demise. This is finished. They're going to drag it out, but there's no coming back from this. You cannot turn this around.
Because a lot of this content, I thought about, well, what if you can relicense this content? If I was Netflix, I said, no, I don't want this content on my maybe Reno 911, but that's about it. I don't want the Golden Arm girl. I don't want Chrissy Teigen's fucking court cases on like, we don't need that shit. No one's watching it right now. Like, we don't need that. Did you see the Gal Gadot thing?
No.
Oh, that's a good one. You're gonna love this. This is great. So it talks about how Katzenberg is so micromanaging with stuff, and he's on his phone all the time, but he still has his emails printed out by an assistant. It just shows you the different generation gap. Like, yeah, he's on his phone, he's talking to people, but it's like, I'm not working on a computer all the time looking at emails. So it's just an interesting, it gives you a look into the mindset. So when enthusing about what a show could mean for Quibi, Katzenberg would repeatedly invoke the same handful of musty touchstones: America's Funniest Home Videos, Siskel and Ebert, and Jane Fonda's exercise tape. This guy is living literally in the mid-'80s.
Yes.
Like, this is how far back he's thinking about his form of what entertainment is. He's out of touch. He's out of touch. He's out of touch. When Gal Gadot came to the offices, who was Wonder Woman, and delivered an impassioned speech about wanting to elevate the voices of girls and women, Katzenberg wondered aloud whether she might become the new Jane Fonda and do a workout series for Quibi.
Oh, boy.
Apparently, her face fell, says a person briefed on the meeting. This guy is 3 generations behind about what people want, and sensibilities. It sounds like that's just an awful story. Probably didn't mean it maliciously. He's just so out of touch. He didn't know how it came off to Gal Gadot. Like he's like thinking like, oh, you're gonna be in power. You're gonna be doing workout videos in skimpy clothes. You know, like what? That's not what I was. That's not what I was trying to impart to you, Mr. Katzenberg. Like what the hell? Wow. It gets worse. Well, at a casting session this year, while watching a tape test for a Daily Essentials host who was a black man with an afro, Katzenberg said the man didn't look authoritative. And then they had to sit him down and talk to him in private and say, like, you know how offensive that sounds, saying that just because he has, you know, a traditional hairstyle. Like, and then it sounded like he got it eventually. But like, you don't want someone in charge of a media company in 2020 that has to be explained this stuff. Like you're way behind the eight ball if that's the person running your company. You know, like that, if that's the person in charge of your content.
Yeah, you're fucked.
You're done. You can't catch up. You got to try to step aside. Maybe other people come in, but he's not the type of person that's probably going to do that if he's this much of a micromanager. So, yeah. Katzenberg and Whitman pointed out that they stocked the Quibi offices with young employees who are in the demographic they're trying to reach, but there was an incredible lack of knowledge of the audience and dismissiveness of the audience. Another ex-Quibite says, a thing Jeffrey always says is, I'm not a child or mother, but I made movies children and mothers loved. I know millennials better than millennials. Katzenberg at times been well served in his intuition, and he remained convinced of its acuity. I say, where's your data? Whitman says of their contrasting styles. He says, there is none. You just have to go with your gut. So Whitman's trying to be more reasonable, it seems like, in the approach about we need data-driven results and what we're developing. And Katzenberg's just like, no, I helped develop Lion King, you know, almost 30 years ago. So since I did that, I know how to do this now. No, that's not how this works. That's not how it works.
I'm sick of these fucking old white dudes thinking that one, you know, brief flash of, well, I mean, not brief.
Oh, he didn't have a brief.
Be real.
Yeah.
It was long, but what, you know, not brief, but past success means current success. It doesn't. The world changes. Everything changes. Just because you were successful in the past doesn't mean that you can't fail now. Every project is a new project.
And you also overstate your importance. Just because you were in charge of these products, like, well, yeah, those Disney animated movies of the early 90s, like Little Mermaid and things, it's like, well, if you had a team of awesome animators and writers, just because you were the head of that operation, you got to give credit to those people. Doesn't mean you could recreate that magic in a totally different time and space.
Right.
You can't do that. Like, he did have a great idea with DreamWorks and like 3D animation and Shrek and things like, yes, that was great. That was also 25 years ago. Just about. Wow, Shrek's almost 25 years old. Holy shit. It's like late 90s, like 22 years.
I don't even know.
But eventually the magic runs out when it comes to this stuff. It just does. It just, you don't have it in you anymore, or the world has passed you by, Ian. The world's going to pass me by if it hasn't already when it comes to doing a podcast or doing online media. Like, it just, things change. You know?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, that's about what I'm going to say about Quibi. This is a long, well, check it out. A long article at vulture.com. I mean, it goes into even people talking about how Katzenberg, whenever he had a company, bought out I think it was DreamWorks, where like they overpaid to make sure he wouldn't stay with the company. Oh, here it is. When Comcast Universal bought DreamWorks, it was on the condition he left the company. Let's reiterate, a former friend says, Comcast chose to overpay for DreamWorks Animation to not have him there.
Wow. All right.
So there you go. And again, well, it sounds familiar. It sounds like a certain console where that you blame COVID for delays and not success, and you try to get by on past successes of yourself and employees for a new product. Wow. Sounds familiar. Mm-hmm. And also, there's also similarities because it sounded like to people, Jeffrey Katzenberg is the type of person that thinks he can will things into existence and will things to be successful just upon your personal spirit and working drive. And yes, you need a hard work ethic in order to be successful when it comes to things like this. Absolutely, you do. You can't get by being slovenly and things like that. But it doesn't mean if you have a bad product, it's going to be a success just because you're working day and night to make it happen.
Right.
I think that's funny. This whole willing things into existence and self-help book motif bullshit about, well, you know, I'm visualizing in my mind, it's going to happen. That's not how the real world works. It can work out if you have a good product, But if you don't have something people want, it's not going to work. And that goes for Quibi or the Quibi console that's in development as well.